As the Strait of Hormuz crisis deepens, is Iran now effectively proposing a new tax on the world by trying to monetize the critical data cables? Is Tehran preparing to exploit not just the oil choke point but also a data choke point, with lawmakers warning that countries should start paying up for using fiber-optic routes under Hormuz? Will Iran soon demand annual fees for the undersea cables in the strait, turning vital financial and communications lifelines into a direct cash source for the regime? After threatening to assert full control over data cables in Hormuz, is this latest warning a signal that Iran wants leverage over both global energy flows and digital infrastructure? An Iranian lawmaker has reportedly proposed a new kind of annual fee linked to infrastructure running through the Strait of Hormuz, specifically targeting undersea data links rather than shipping. He said that countries using fiber-optic cables laid across the strait should pay Iran yearly fees, arguing that these lines cross through an area under Iranian control. According to his comments, hundreds of billions of dollars worth of financial transactions flow through these cables every day, making them a lucrative potential revenue source. The lawmaker described the Strait of Hormuz as a treasure, comparing it to other natural resources, mines, and reserves that he said are at Iran's disposal to manage and monetize. His remarks came just days after reports suggested that Iran is seeking greater control over undersea cables in the Hormuz area, raising concerns about both economic leverage and data security. Iran is said to be mulling full control over all 7 undersea internet cables in the Hormuz corridor, according to reports citing IRGC-linked media discussions. Tehran appears to be exploring a revenue model built around permits and toll payments for cable operators using the strategic waterway. Indian media reported the claim on May 10, citing a post attributed to Iran's fast news agency and related IRGC-linked messaging. Fast news agency said, and I quote, "In the proposed governance model for the Strait of Hormuz, the passage of submarine cables must be conducted with a permit and payment of tolls, and foreign companies must also operate under Iranian laws. Furthermore, the management, repair, and maintenance of these cables can be exclusively entrusted to Iranian companies, so that the Strait of Hormuz becomes one of Iran's digital power levers." Unquote. Iran now appears to be weighing the same choke point strategy it has long been accused of applying to commercial shipping in and around Hormuz. The revelation surfaced only days after reports warned that any move against undersea cables in Hormuz could trigger major internet, financial, and communications disruption across the region and beyond. The Eurasian Times reported on May 1 that it had examined multiple studies and assessments to highlight what it described as a growing threat to the global internet from tensions centered around Iran and the Gulf. According to that analysis, Iranian forces could potentially sever undersea cables and create yet another strategic choke point in the Strait of Hormuz, this time in the digital domain rather than only in energy shipping. Reports suggest that any serious disruption tied to Iran's cable threat could interfere with financial networks handling as much as $10 trillion in daily flows, turning a regional confrontation into a global economic shock. The economic value and strategic utility of subsea cables are exactly why many analysts increasingly see them not just as civilian infrastructure, but as highly attractive military targets in a crisis. As Eurasian Times put it, these cables function like the arteries that connect nation-states and their populations, carrying the digital lifeblood of modern commerce, communication, and coordination. There are more than 500 commercial undersea telecommunications cables supporting the modern global internet, which means damage to even a small number of key routes can have effects far beyond one region. Any interference with the normal flow of internet traffic can disrupt daily life and potentially trigger a wider livelihoods crisis, especially in economies deeply dependent on uninterrupted digital services. That is why the global internet backbone is increasingly being described as vulnerable, particularly where Gulf cable routes are exposed to the risks created by Iranian threats and regional conflict. Iran's geography gives Tehran unusual proximity to cable routes that link Asia, Europe, and the Gulf states, which is why analysts say its location offers leverage beyond missiles, drones, and oil shipping lanes. A relatively low-cost attack on subsea cables by Iran could therefore produce outsized and highly disruptive global effects, making this one of the more asymmetric options under discussion in current reporting. Some reports suggest that an Iranian strike on key cable routes could slow internet connectivity from Mumbai to Frankfurt within minutes, underlining how quickly the impact could spread across major business corridors. The same undersea cable threat could also hit banks, cloud services, and military communications, since all three rely heavily on resilient high-capacity international data links. More than 20 key cables are reported to pass near the Hormuz and Red Sea corridors, leaving a dense concentration of critical infrastructure exposed to rising conflict danger. With diplomacy still deadlocked, some observers believe Iran could choose to target such cables as a new source of leverage, especially if it seeks pressure points beyond direct battlefield escalation. Iran has already shown how effectively disruption in and around Hormuz can shake global energy markets, which is why fears are growing that a digital version of the same pressure tactic cannot be ruled out.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HD videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.